Our final guest tonight joins us in the studio. Paul McGowan is an artist and a fashion designer. He was once the resident artist at the Eden Project in the UK. He's outspoken, openly supports Brexit and Trump, which as an artist is rare. Paul, welcome to Derby. How was it then to be that outspoken from a kind of a realm that's very much not? It's very left, isn't it?
Very left.
The artist world.
Yeah. I'll be really honest, I loved it. Right. I absolutely loved it. I don't shy away from any sort of controversy at all. I consider myself a social disruptor. I think that's a creative disruptor. I think that's the best way to get something across. I know it's a bit attention grabbing, but I think that's the only way you can push a message. And I really don't believe with the narrative that we're fed today. We're spoon-fed a narrative and everyone's being nudged all the time. All the time. There's a massive mission creep that you can identify and you can really see it. And once you see it, you can't stop seeing it. You can see it now. You can see it in Ukraine.
Yeah,
the mission creep in Ukraine is absolutely... That people have sort of... They're not thinking straight. I mean, these are nuclear powers we're talking about. We're upscaling a confrontation that really... we should stay out of. And so let's be honest, I mean, we installed Zelensky. I mean, the whole thing, it's another regime change war. It's something we shouldn't be getting involved with because this is getting incredibly dangerous, you know.
Absolutely. And what I find weird, because I don't really subscribe so much to the left and the right. I'm politically homeless, have been for as long as I can remember, to be honest. For me, you've got the right and then the left is the right, but with a pride flag attached. But you basically kind of, you know, much of a muchness, really. But in saying that, it tends to be a lot of people on the left, which are very much kind of, you know, save granny, very kind of lovey-dovey and virtuous. They're the ones calling for more arms to get sent over there. And it's like...
Very strange, because I've been involved with the anti-war movement for a long time. Now, I've watched the anti-war movement going from a very left-wing position to now it's a very conservative libertarian position. And... that if you'd said that to me 10, 11, 12 years ago, I would never have believed that.
Yeah.
And I've got a theory on why this is. Because I used to be a soldier. The majority of soldiers come from conservative families. And I think conservatives are sick of sending their children to their death over regime change wars we never win, that are just everlasting wars that are making the industrial military complex loads and loads and loads of money. And those shares are mainly owned by people in the liberal industrial complex, if you like, you know? So these are money wars and power wars. They're not war. They're not like, we're not fighting Nazi Germany. We're not fighting for, we are interfering and intervening for our own profit, basically.
Oh yeah, and the Ukrainian people and the Russian people are the people that will suffer, and no one seems to care.
Exactly, nobody seems to care. No. But Ukraine, there's no way there's no way we're going to take that land back off Russia. There's no way at all. Russians are dug in. They've got people aren't being shot in Ukraine. They're being blown up by missiles, Russian defense missiles. I mean, we have not got a chance. You'd have to send in fully trained Western armies, like a highly trained British army or an American army, to dislodge the Russians. I mean, everything you see on TV is total propaganda. And it's to keep the will going to fight for Ukraine. But realistically, we should be trying to fight for some sort of peace, because Ukraine is going to be devastated at the end of this, absolutely devastated. And I can see a time when it's totally annexed, not in a different way than it is today. And there will be no actual there's no actual real true power of any Ukrainian at the moment, because it's all run by America. America runs Ukraine. It has done for a very long time, you know.
Oh yeah, absolutely. What was your red pill moment then? Because I want to get into your art, obviously, and kind of the backlash that you've got for your art, you know, in terms of, you know, the pro-Brexit art and stuff like that. You've got some ear roll grief. We were speaking before we started about some stuff that you had at a gallery where the police got involved and all that sort of stuff. But what was your red pill moment then? Was it war?
WMDs.
Right.
WMDs. And then the next one was making CO2 a pollutant, registering it as a pollutant in 26 or 27. And I just thought I didn't agree with either of those things. I don't believe that something that greens the planet is a pollutant. That's made by everything. It's in abundance across the planet, from coming out of sea algae to insects in the ground. That's like a war on nature. But WMDs, I knew immediately that was as soon as. But what was it? Was it the Kuwaiti or the Saudi minister's daughter that went on TV talked about taking babies out of incubators and put them on the ground? They're stealing the incubators. It's just the narrative was. And in all these wars, there's a narrative that's just obviously not true. I mean, we saw this at the beginning of the Ukrainian war, where there is like troops like refusing to back down and refusing to surrender. And the report big they fought to the death, but realistically, they did actually surrender and handed themselves over to the Russians. And then there's all that Ghost of Kiev stuff.
Who never even existed.
Never even existed.
Absolutely.
And the people still believe it. I still see things on the internet about him, how great he is. But these are all being posted by people in the white liberal industrial complex, if you like, that the Hillary Clintons, these power-hungry war freaks, and also a lot of neocons, remember, and the Tony Blairs, and these people are all behind the back of all of this. And I see those people as the enemy of everybody on the planet.
Oh, absolutely. Someone like Tony Blair is completely the enemy of the people. I think he enjoys what he does.
I can't understand how he's getting a support base again. He's getting a support base again. And they're from the left wing. I've seen people saying we need to bring back Tony Blair and things like that. I'm thinking, what are you on about? He's the last type of person we need to bring back into society. I mean, also, I hate these nefarious organisations like the WEF. I don't want to know what I don't want to know. I don't want them to tell us what we should know.
No.
I think another unelected body getting involved in our lives. And this is why we fought to get out the EU, because when I go to the ballot box, I want to make my ballot for a government and we vote on all the policies that we believe in. I don't want these nefarious bodies interjected into our politics all the time. And our politicians just bow down to them all the time. We've just seen that. This just happened in Germany over the leopards, and now they're going to give out their tanks. I mean, that's the worst thing they can possibly do. And also, going back to Ukraine, why the hell would Russia blow up their own pipeline? There's people that seriously believe that. So they seriously believe that. And all they have to do is switch it off. Why would they blow it up?
Well, they wouldn't. And it was leverage for them that they could use. And also the fact that you've got Liz Truss, sending a text to Blinken, I believe, in the US saying it's done.
That's right.
Moments after it blows up.
We were there. It was convenient. America didn't want to do it. They gave the order. Because you've got to remember, we do whatever America says, I'm surprised we never went to the Vietnam War. I'm really surprised because they've been in control of this country for a very long time. And if you don't wake up to that, American politics is really important to watch, because when things start in America, they're being exported over here. When I saw woke starting, I watched that creep. And I used to say, watch the censorship go. And people used to say to me, Paul, you're mad. There's not going to be other artists. You say, Paul, you're mad. There's not going to be any censorship. And I've had loads of arguments for years over this. And now look where we are, totally censored. And artists have literally gone back to, they might as well go back to painting still lives, because they're not pushing any narrative. They're pushing an establishment narrative that they think's anti-establishment, a very left-wing narrative that is, communism for us and capitalism to them type thing. But they're not seeing the bigger picture, because partially it's because they're scared. They know what will happen. They'll get shut down, and they've got families, children to support. Now, I was in a position where I paid off mortgages years ago. I had a mortgage for years. My kids were all growing up. I had an income anyway outside of art. So
you had a bit more freedom then.
I had more freedom now, even if I was 30 years old and back in that situation of there, I couldn't have backed down. I couldn't just go along with it. No. I'd always had to have said something, because that's it. That's my character. I can't build my work that's where lies are the foundation. Because in 100 years' time, when historians look back at the art of today, traditionally, when I was going through university, and that we'd look back and we'd look at the artwork to reflect on the time of the day. But what's more important, historians should be looking at memes, of what they're people's own political posts. Now, when we first started building our meme groups, it was artists that were making memes. But we started seeing just brilliant memes popping up everywhere. And we realised that these memes weren't being made by artists, they were being made by farmers, people that work in any sort of normal strain of life, all walks of life.
It was a way of saying something, wasn't it?
They was having their voice taken away.
Yeah.
And people don't like to be silenced. And that's going to be a big mistake that the establishment are going to push is people they've got an instinct to rebel, and there'll be a younger generation come through and they will rebel because that's what young people do. Now, I'll put it this way. The right wing had a really strong internet game. Now, usually young people go really left wing, but because the right wing are so good at memeing and they're so good with political arguments compared to the left wing, and they've got a good sense of humour and they'll laugh at themselves, more and more and more young people are getting involved in right-wing politics. Now, I'm not particularly left or right-wing, but I'm definitely side with the right wing. I can't stand the left wing. I just think they're just total. They just buckle. They just got no backbone anymore. They never used to be like that. I'm not talking about old-fashioned socialists. I've got loads of friends that are old-fashioned socialists that are older. They don't agree with any of the narrative that's going on today. But it was a problem for the white liberal industrial complex that all these young people were going into right-wing groups because everyone had a laugh and they joked and nobody was banned and nobody was, it was all light-hearted and people used satire all the time. And that was a problem and that was really creeping up. And that's when they started really attacking the group system that would be on platforms like Facebook, because the right-wing groups were massively expanding with young people. And you could look at the demographic of people joining our groups and thinking, wow, they're getting younger and younger and younger. And that means less of them are going into the left-wing groups. And that was a problem. And that's how we got Brexit done. And that's how Trump got in. Because we was allowed to really organise back then. And I'm a political activist, if you like. But I'm definitely, even though I try and not pick a side, it's got to the point now that everything the left does is, I find repulsive, absolutely repulsive. And I think it's there to destabilise society. And that was a real massive problem with all these young people. So they had to break up those groups. So then you got the censorship. So now I'm banned from most social media platforms. But Facebook, when they ban me for being basically a dangerous person or organisation, And I've never done anything.
Making artwork.
I just make art and write comedy. That's all I do. I do satire. And that's, I'm not some thug, I'm not a criminal. I've never done anything, I'm not a lawbreaker. I don't do anything bad. If you search for me on Google, you see the amount of charities I've worked for years and years and years. And I did that all for free, off my back, so I believed in those causes. I'm definitely not a person that's dangerous, and I'm not attached to any dangerous organisation.
No.
But there was one day, about 6 months ago now, and they literally took down about 40 to 50 activists in one day. All of us were labelled dangerous people or organisations, and that's what they used to take us all down. So then we joined Getter. Well, Jenny sorted out Getter for me, Jenny Roberts. And I went on to Getter, and I got everyone else to join Getter. And the problem with Getter is we still can't organise there because they don't have a group system. No. And you need to have a group system where you can lock yourself away privately with other people, share ideas and say, how are we going to approach this? What should we do? Yeah. And then people will make the artwork and we won't claim it as our own. We'll steal off each other's artwork because it's not for financial gain. It's it's the idea of waking people up. That's the idea. So it's not a personal or ego thing. It's like, that's a really good idea. I'm going to use that on that. And everyone's like, there, use that. And the idea, it gets to the point where you love it when people share your ideas, but if it was in a contemporary art context, it would be considered stealing people's ideas. But if you're in a meme group with loads of meme lords, They will literally love having it's a totally different approach to making art. That's why it's so important.
Flattery, I guess, to have it.
Yeah. This is why it's going to be so important for historians to look back on, because it's general, everyday people, not just artists are the least important people making memes, putting out these messages. What's really important? This is why the EU wanted to ban memes. This is why they blamed memes for Trump's election, because they're a really powerful political tool. And they're being made by every person from every walk of life. And that's dangerous.
Yeah. Well, that's probably why they tried to say it was the Russians and all that sort of stuff. Big groups of Russians doing that. And it never was. It never was. I knew people that made memes and they weren't Russian.
No. We made thousands of Hillary Clinton memes in our groups, thousands. Because she was the funniest person to make memes about, because she's messed up so many times in her life.
Yeah, but she is a meme, isn't she?
Oh, she is pretty much a repulsive person. And I just cannot believe that I can't believe that people believe that they were going to vote for her in such large numbers that she beat Donald Trump. And right from the beginning, I was saying, if people don't like Trump or not, it doesn't matter. They'll vote against Hillary Clinton, because for years and years and years, she's like a Tony Blair character.
Yeah, she is hated.
People are not going to vote for her. And just don't matter how much PR machine worked, don't matter how much the mainstream media shilled for her, people were never going to vote for her. Because nobody likes Hillary Clinton. No. Nobody's like Tony Blair. Nobody likes Tony Blair.
Where would now you've been obviously kicked off of all these platforms and stuff. I know you're on Getter. Where can people where can people find your artwork and all the stuff that you're doing?
Well, I'm trying to get Jason Miller to put groups onto Getter. Right. I keep calling him out, but he's got to do it because he's a conservative and he must understand how conservative activism is so weak. We haven't got a strong game. We've got no ground game like the left wing have. We've got a fantastically strong internet game. And Facebook, especially Facebook, have been really active in breaking that up, and they've been really effective at breaking it up. So we need something to replace that. So as far as finding us as in groups, you just can't, because we're not allowed to group. Because as soon as certain people get together in a group, the algorithm immediately picks it up, and we've all got bots on our ass anyway. Well, I can't even do that anymore because I'm not even on it. But as soon as certain key people get together in a group, boom, that group's taken down straight away.
Right.
So there's certain people that we even have to talk in code when we do anything, and it's just absolutely ridiculous.
It's crazy. So basically, it's getter.com / what's the tagline for people to find you?
Just say Paul McGowan.
Oh, so it's just your name.
Go, or you can go to Jenny Roberts PR, and she does everything, because I don't really do that much. No. I like to make the artwork. I like to create the discussion. But I'm not really a social media person.
No, but people can find your artwork, and that's important.
Yeah. I'm going to come out of retirement in 2 years. I've got to have some surgery, a couple of operations. And I'm going to, hopefully, if they're good, I'm going to come out of retirement late 2025. I thought you were going to say 2050 then.
Hang on.
No. So we're going to come out then, if everything goes well. And then, but we're planning on going to North America. And we're going to do a tour over there. And my family live in America, a majority of my family. And I've only ever done one show in America. I've sold people, but I've got lots of American clients, but I want to attack that market now. And also, I think that's where the real front line is. And I've got so many of people in our groups are over there. I'd like to go over there, and that's where the battleground is. You know, Britain, it's too late by the time it comes here. It's already happened.
Yeah, so get there first. Well, thank you so much for coming in, mate.
Lovely to meet you, Gareth.
Yeah, it's great to meet you too.
And I'll see you on May the 4th.
May the 4th be with you.
At Trump.
Done.
Thank you.